Hashtag mommy's sick, but she'll still smile if you come to my party, the little girl said to the man. The invitation came in the form of a small hand tugging at his sleeve, innocent eyes looking up with a hope so pure it felt like a physical weight. Mommy's sick, but she'll still smile if you come to my party, the little girl said to the man who had stopped to help her pick up scattered groceries on the rain-slicked sidewalk. Those words would change everything, for her, for him, for a mother fighting a battle no one should face alone. If you've ever wondered whether small acts of kindness can transform lives, this story might just answer that question. Stay with us until the end to discover how a chance encounter became something extraordinary, and don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more stories that remind us of our shared humanity. Marcus Reed hadn't planned on stopping. He was already late for a meeting, his phone buzzing angrily in his pocket with messages he was deliberately ignoring. The rain had started as a drizzle but was quickly becoming a downpour, and he'd been focused on reaching his car before his expensive suit became completely drenched. But then he saw her, a small figure struggling with a torn paper bag, canned goods rolling across the wet concrete, her tiny shoulders slumped in defeat. He should have kept walking. That's what the old Marcus would have done, the Marcus from 6 months ago, before the divorce, before the promotion that should have made him happy but somehow left him feeling emptier than ever. Instead, he found himself kneeling beside her, gathering up cans of soup and a carton of eggs that had miraculously survived the fall. "Thank you, mister," she said, her voice small but clear despite the rain. "My mom couldn't come to the store today because she's resting." "No problem," Marcus replied, noticing how thin her jacket seemed for the October chill. "Do you live far from here?" "Just in those apartments," she pointed to a weathered building across the street. "I'm Lily. I'm 7 3/4. Marcus smiled despite himself. "I'm Marcus. I'm 34 and, well, just 34. That's when she said it, as he handed her the last can of soup. "Mommy's sick, but she'll still smile if you come to my party. It's on Saturday. I'm making the cake myself." The words hit him with unexpected force. There was something in her eyes, a mixture of hope and worry that seemed far too complex for someone so young. Before he could formulate a response, she was already continuing. "It's my birthday. I'm going to be 8. Mom says 8 is a very important number because it looks like infinity standing up." She demonstrated by tracing the shape in the air with her finger. Marcus felt a tightness in his chest. "Your mom sounds smart." "She is. She used to be a teacher before she got sick. Now she teaches me at home." Lily adjusted her grip on the grocery bag that Marcus had reinforced with his own reusable one from his briefcase. "You should come. We live in apartment 4B. The party starts at 3 o'clock. Before Marcus could respond, a voice called from across the street. "Lily. Hurry inside, honey, you're getting soaked." A woman stood in the doorway of the apartment building, wrapped in a thick cardigan despite the mild temperature. Even from a distance, Marcus could see how thin she was, how she leaned against the doorframe as if standing required all her strength. "Coming, Mom." Lily called back. She turned to Marcus one last time. "Please come. Mom doesn't smile much anymore, but I know she will if you do." Then she was gone, darting across the street with the careful precision of a child who had been taught to look both ways. Marcus watched as she reached her mother, who bent down with visible effort to check the groceries before ushering her daughter inside. The meeting Marcus was late for was forgotten. He stood in the rain for several minutes, replaying the encounter in his mind. There had been something about Lily, something about the responsibility she carried on her small shoulders, that resonated with him in ways he couldn't immediately understand. By the time he reached his car, he had already decided he would go to the party. What he didn't know was that this decision would be the first of many that would reshape the course of his life. The next few days passed in a blur of work and routine, but Marcus found his thoughts repeatedly returning to Lily and her mother. On Friday afternoon, he left work early to visit a toy store, where he spent an embarrassing amount of time trying to determine what an 8-year-old girl might like. He settled on a set of art supplies, high-quality colored pencils, sketchbooks, and watercolors, remembering how carefully Lily had traced that infinity sign in the air. Saturday arrived with unexpected sunshine after a week of rain. Marcus found himself standing outside apartment 4B at precisely 3 o'clock, gift in hand, feeling more nervous than he had before his last board presentation. He knocked. The door opened to reveal Lily, wearing a party hat and a dress that was slightly too big for her. Her face lit up with genuine surprise and delight. "You came." "Mom, he came." Behind her, sitting on a worn but clean sofa, was her mother. Up close, the signs of her illness were more apparent, the pallor of her skin, the thinness of her wrists, the careful way she held herself. But there was also a quiet dignity about her, and when she smiled at Marcus, he understood what Lily had meant. It transformed her face, bringing warmth and life to features that had clearly endured much suffering. "I'm Sarah," she said, extending a hand that Marcus gently shook. "Thank you for helping Lily with the groceries. She insisted you were coming, but I told her you were probably a busy man." "Marcus Reed," he replied. "And not too busy for birthday cake, especially one made by the birthday girl herself." The apartment was small but meticulously kept. Handmade decorations hung from the ceiling, paper chains and drawings of balloons. A lopsided cake sat on the kitchen table, covered in somewhat uneven frosting and surrounded by 8 carefully placed candles. What struck Marcus most was the absence of other guests. "Am I early?" he asked, trying to sound casual. Sarah's eyes met his with a quiet understanding. "No, you're right on time. We kept it small this year. Just us." Lily, oblivious to the undercurrent of the conversation, was already showing Marcus her favorite books and toys. "Mom says we can't have a bounce house in an apartment, but maybe next year we can have my party in the park and invite my whole class." Sarah's smile faltered slightly, but she recovered quickly. "Maybe, sweetheart. Let's focus on today's party first." The afternoon unfolded in a way Marcus couldn't have anticipated. They played board games that Sarah joined from her position on the sofa. They sang "Happy Birthday" and ate cake that was surprisingly good despite its appearance. Lily opened her gift from Marcus with such genuine excitement that he felt a warmth spread through his chest that had been absent for longer than he cared to admit. As the afternoon waned, Lily fell asleep on the sofa, exhausted from the excitement. Sarah carefully covered her with a blanket before joining Marcus at the small kitchen table. "Thank you," she said simply. This meant the world to her. "It was my pleasure," Marcus replied, and was surprised to find he meant it completely. "She's an amazing kid." Sarah nodded, pride momentarily overshadowing the fatigue in her eyes. "She is. She's had to grow up too fast, but somehow she still managed to keep her heart open." She hesitated, then added, "I have stage 4 ovarian cancer. The prognosis isn't good." The directness of her statement caught Marcus off guard, but he appreciated her honesty. "I'm sorry," he said, knowing how inadequate the words were. "Don't be. I've had time to come to terms with it. My concern now is Lily." Sarah's gaze drifted to her sleeping daughter. "Her father isn't in the picture. Never has been. My parents are elderly and live across the country. I've been trying to make arrangements, but it's complicated." Marcus felt a tightness in his throat. "Is there anything I can do to help?" Sarah studied him for a moment, as if weighing something in her mind. "You already have. Lily talks about you like you're some kind of superhero who appeared just when she needed one. She's been so worried about the party, about making it perfect for me. Having you here made her happy, and that's all I want for whatever time I have left." They talked for another hour as the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the apartment. Sarah told him about her life before the diagnosis, her work as an elementary school teacher, her dreams of taking Lily to see the ocean, the book of children's stories she'd been writing but might never finish. Marcus found himself sharing things too, his recent divorce, his disillusionment with his corporate career, the emptiness he'd been feeling despite his professional success. When it was time to leave, Marcus found himself reluctant to go. At the door, he made an impulsive decision. "I'd like to help, if you'll let me. Maybe I could take Lily to the park sometimes, give you a chance to rest. Or help with groceries or appointments." Sarah's expression was a mixture of gratitude and caution. "That's very kind, but you don't even know us." "I'd like to," Marcus said simply. "If that's okay." After a moment's consideration, Sarah nodded. Lily would like that. And truthfully, so would I. That evening marked the beginning of a new chapter in all their lives. What started as occasional visits evolved into a regular presence. Marcus would come by after work, bringing dinner or groceries. He took Lily to the park on Saturdays, giving Sarah precious time to rest. He drove them to medical appointments when Sarah was too weak to manage public transportation. As weeks turned into months, Marcus found himself rearranging his work schedule to accommodate their needs. His colleagues noticed the change in him, how he no longer stayed late at the office, how he smiled more easily, how he seemed more grounded somehow. When asked, he would simply say he had family commitments, and was surprised by how right the word family felt in relation to Lily and Sarah. Sarah's condition worsened as winter deepened. There were hospitalizations, frightening nights when Marcus would stay with Lily in the apartment, reading her stories until she fell asleep, trying to shield her from the full gravity of the situation. But children sense more than adults give them credit for, and Lily's resilience was matched only by her perceptiveness. "Mom's not going to get better, is she?" she asked Marcus one evening as they walked home from the hospital. Snow was falling gently around them, catching in Lily's dark hair. Marcus knelt down to her level, his heart breaking at the question. "The doctors are doing everything they can," he said, not wanting to lie but unable to voice the harsh truth. Lily nodded solemnly. "I know. But sometimes people have to go to heaven even when doctors try really hard." She looked up at the falling snow. "Mom says heaven is peaceful and beautiful, like snow but warmer." Marcus pulled her into a hug, his eyes burning with unshed tears. "Your mom is very wise. Will you stay with me?" Lily asked, her voice muffled against his coat. "When Mom goes to heaven?" The question hit Marcus like a physical blow. He and Sarah had discussed this possibility in hushed tones while Lily slept, but they had never reached a definitive plan. Sarah had been working with a social worker to explore options, knowing her parents were too elderly to take on raising a child. The thought of Lily in the foster system was unbearable to both of them. "I'll always be here for you, Lily," Marcus promised, choosing his words carefully. "No matter what happens." That night, after Lily was asleep, Marcus made a call to his lawyer. The process would be complicated. He had no biological connection to Lily, was single, and had no prior experience as a parent. But he was determined to try. The next morning, he broached the subject with Sarah during a rare moment when her pain was managed and her mind clear. "I want to adopt Lily," he said simply. "If you think that would be right for her." Sarah's eyes filled with tears. "You barely know us." "I know enough," Marcus replied. "I know she's brave and kind and deserves stability. I know I can provide for her. And I know that in these past months, she's brought more meaning to my life than I ever thought possible." Sarah reached for his hand, her grip surprisingly strong. "What about your career? Your life? Taking on someone else's child is an enormous responsibility." "My career will adapt," Marcus said with a certainty that surprised even him. "And my life has already changed. For the better." The legal process began quietly, with Sarah's full support. There were home studies, background checks, interviews with social workers. Marcus moved to an apartment closer to Lily's school, with a bedroom decorated just for her for the nights she stayed with him while Sarah was hospitalized. He adjusted his work schedule, negotiating a partial remote arrangement that his company reluctantly approved. Spring arrived, bringing with it cherry blossoms and a brief rally in Sarah's condition. They celebrated with a picnic in the park, where Lily flew a kite while Sarah watched from a blanket, her smile genuine despite the oxygen tube that had become a permanent fixture. Marcus captured the moment with his phone, Lily's hair streaming behind her as she ran, Sarah's face tilted toward the sun, a perfect tableau of joy amidst sorrow. "Thank you," Sarah said that evening, as Marcus helped her back into the apartment. "For giving her this day. For giving her a future. Thank you for trusting me with both," he replied. 2 weeks later, Sarah was readmitted to the hospital. This time, there would be no coming home. The cancer had spread to her brain, and the doctors spoke in terms of days rather than weeks. Marcus took a leave of absence from work, dividing his time between the hospital and caring for Lily, who insisted on visiting her mother every day. On a quiet Tuesday afternoon, while Lily was at school, Sarah asked Marcus to help her finish something. From her hospital bed, she dictated the final chapters of her children's book, the one she had started before her diagnosis. It was a story about a little girl who discovers she can talk to the moon, and through their conversations, learns about courage, love, and saying goodbye. "Promise me you'll get it published," Sarah whispered, her voice fading as the medication took effect. "So she'll always have my words." "I promise," Marcus said, holding her hand until she drifted to sleep. Sarah passed away peacefully 3 days later, with Lily and Marcus at her bedside. Lily, with a wisdom beyond her years, climbed onto the bed and held her mother's hand, telling her it was okay to go, that she and Marcus would be okay. In her final moments, Sarah smiled at them both, the smile that Lily had promised Marcus at their first meeting, the one that transformed her face and revealed the vibrant spirit that illness had never managed to dim. The funeral was small but filled with love. Sarah's former students and colleagues came, as did Marcus's friends who had heard so much about this remarkable family. Lily, dressed in a blue dress that Sarah had chosen for her, stood beside Marcus, her small hand firmly in his as they received condolences. The days that followed were difficult. Grief came in waves for both of them. There were nights when Lily would wake crying, and Marcus would sit with her until she fell back asleep. There were mornings when the weight of responsibility left Marcus momentarily paralyzed with doubt. But there were also moments of unexpected joy, Lily's laughter at a silly joke, the pride in her eyes when she mastered a new skill, the quiet contentment of their new routine. The adoption was finalized 6 months after Sarah's death. The judge, moved by their story and the obvious bond between them, made a point of telling Marcus that families come in many forms, and that love, not blood, was what truly mattered. That evening, they celebrated with ice cream for dinner, a tradition Sarah had started for special occasions. As they sat on their apartment balcony, watching the sunset, Lily looked up at Marcus with serious eyes. "Mom sent you to us, didn't she?" she asked. "That day in the rain. She always said angels come when you need them most." Marcus felt his throat tighten with emotion. "I think maybe she did," he replied. "Or maybe we found each other because we all needed something we didn't even know we were looking for." Lily considered this, nodding slowly. "I miss her every day." "Me too," Marcus said. "And that's okay. We'll always miss her. But we'll also remember how to smile, just like she did even when things were hard." A year to the day after Sarah's passing, Marcus received a package in the mail. It was the first printed copy of Sarah's book, Conversations with the Moon, beautifully illustrated and dedicated to Lily. That night, they read it together, both laughing and crying at the familiar cadence of Sarah's words, at the wisdom she had left behind for her daughter. As Lily fell asleep, the book clutched to her chest, Marcus reflected on the journey that had brought them here. From a chance encounter in the rain to becoming a family, it wasn't the life he had planned, but it was infinitely more meaningful than anything he could have imagined. The little girl who had once said,